Hi, welcome to the fourth edition of Tamil Nadu Nexon Owners Club's news. We'll start off by mentioning that Tata Nexon EV has sold over 1,000 units in August, which is the highest ever sales number so far. They have never sold 1,000 till date, and 1,000 numbers of EV is a great thing, and it shows that the demand for EV is increasing. Tigor EV has also been shown substantial interest by many people, and there are a good number of bookings for Tigor EV too. It's good to see that even though the infrastructure and the time consumed to charge the EV is not so good in India, it's good to see that people are still taking a liking for EV. Like EV chargers aren't so widespread, and the time taken to charge the EV, which adds to the commute time compared to what normal internal combustion engine would use, is high. But still, it's good to see that people are moving towards EV. The government has mandated all the manufacturers should be using flex fuel, meaning the car should be able to run on petrol as well as on ethanol. The government has mentioned a 6 months timeline, but it's unclear whether the official directive to move to flex fuel would come in 6 months, or whether the manufacturers have to move to flex fuel in 6 months. While the 6 month, even let's assume that the manufacturers meet the deadline for making their engines compliant for flex fuel, there is no information or directive of the government to mention whether ethanol would be freely available in all the fuel stations. So even if the vehicles are flex fuel compliant, how easy is it going to be to get ethanol fuel at all the fuel outlets? That question still remains unanswered. Another view on this is, initially government had mentioned to move towards EV. Government had mentioned to not use diesel engines but to move towards petrol engines. Now there is a directive to move towards flex fuel engine of petrol, right? So what is the real clarity on the fuel strategy for India? There is no clarity as far as I know. And I, as a customer, wouldn't want the companies to research on multiple things like flex fuel, diesel, BS6 compliant, EVs and other things, as the R&D costs would be recovered through vehicle sales, and increase in R&D costs for multiple channels would mean higher ex factory gate price, which means higher taxes, and which end of the day means a higher value for the product, and I would end up paying more for the same product if I buy when it's not there. So I clearly feel there should be a straightforward and easy to understand strategy for India as far as the fuel goes. There should be a reasonable timeline for the companies to research and implement it, and then that should be the way forward. So this way we save time, we save cost, and of course keep the prices of the car down. And having one fuel is good, but having multiple fuels or multiple technologies at the same time, I'm not sure how cost efficient it would be in a price conscious nation like India. In August, Tata Motors opened 70 dealerships across 53 cities in South India. These cities are from Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Telangana and Pondicherry Union Territory. South India currently contributes to 28% of the total volume of cars sold in India, which is around 30%, and it's a sizable number. And out of this 28%, 12% of the market share is held by Tata. Tata has launched these 70 dealerships in order to increase their footprint and increase the 12 to a higher number as possible. It's good to know that all these 70 outlets will have Tata's complete EV range of Nexon, Tigor, and also the high-end products like Harrier and Safari. That's good news to all, as Tata has made its car reachable and accessible to rural areas and more cities in the southern states of India. That's good to go, which means that Tata is getting serious about the Indian market, and it's always nice to see such good expansion of dealerships. And to existing owners, it means that new dealers are coming up, which means that the service support, roadside assistance, and the Tata support is just a call away. The turnaround time, of course, would be nearer, and I logically assume that this expansion would be in places where Tata doesn't have a presence in South India. So having a dealer at a location where it's not there is beneficial to us, right? So if we need Tata support, they are just a phone call away. It's good to know that. That's a good move by Tata. Tata Motors sold a shy over 10,000 units of the Nexon in August, which is just second to Brezza, which is a shy less than 13,000 units. 10,000 units is really a good sales number, but still we aren't sure whether the 12,000 units of Brezza is because of Maruti's production cut, or has Tata Nexon really eaten away the share of Brezza. But that said, 10,000 is really a good number, and it's good to see more people buying the Nexon for its safety and other features. Good going, Tata. Now for some bad news for people who are booked and for people who are looking to get a new car. Tata Motors have officially announced a production cut of all their models owing to the semiconductor shortage. In India, most people buy a car in the fourth quarter of every year, which is around the festival season. And people like to take the delivery on an auspicious day. We are sorry to inform that this year some of you might be disappointed, as Tata Motors has cut production and that your car might not reach the dealership on the auspicious day you wanted. So be prepared to wait a little longer, and you might be disappointed if you do not get your car on your day. But that said, you will get your car soon. It just might not be on that particular auspicious day that you wish. This is not only with Tata but across all other leading manufacturers who have announced a production cut. There is a central government rule that there should be a minimum of 60 kilometers between two toll plazas on a national highway. By this rule, Tamil Nadu government has proposed to remove 32 out of its 48 toll plazas, and by the new rule, there should be only 16 toll plazas in Tamil Nadu. So the government has promised to remove them, but when and how it would be removed is still unanswered. Like, we do not have a date or a timeline which the government has committed to remove it, but definitely the talks are going on and we should see some action soon, hopefully. Well, this doesn't mean that the toll fees would come down. So since 32 toll plazas are going to be shut down and only 16 are going to be operational, I wouldn't assume that the fee is going to come down. I would guess that the 16 toll plazas that are functional, the toll would be increased in order to compensate the revenue loss for those 32 toll plazas. So while it's compliant on paper, for us, I would say that the toll fees are technically going to go up, because I have never seen anybody lose revenue and do something for the common man. If they do, it would be a first, but my guess is prices are going to go up on the toll plaza, or at the worst remain the same. MG India is all set to launch their Aster, which is a Creta rival in India, to take the fight obviously to the Creta and probably the base models of the XUV 700 on September 15th. MG being an internet connected car specialist, I'm sure the Aster would have great number of features which would probably impact Nexon sales. For the price of a mid variant of a Nexon, a prospective customer could get a bigger car, albeit a basic model. So Nexon being a sub 4 meter vehicle, for the same price of say a Nexon XM or XT, one could probably get the base model of a MG Aster, which MG Aster is expected to be 4.3 meters long, which is substantially bigger than the Nexon. It would be good to see whether people take up internet technology or whether people go for the build quality of the Nexon. We'll watch the battle and we'll bring you the latest news. Ford India unfortunately have pulled down the shutters in India, and they have decided to shut down manufacturing across both their plants in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. This means that the production of EcoSport and all other cars are stopped, and the EcoSport facelift, which was spotted a couple of months earlier, has now been put on hold. They continue to exist in India and would be selling CBU units like Mustang and Raptor, but that's just for the presence factor on the CEO's PowerPoint presentation. They really do not expect much numbers to do by that. It's just for the CEO to say that, okay, Ford is present in India, dot. Well, this is out of topic, but just for, I'm sure many of you would be curious. Ford have promised spare and support for their existing models in India. So the easily available parts which are manufactured in India, like brake linings, clutch facings, all those things are going to be very easily available. That said, Ford EcoSport continues to sell in Southeast Asian countries like Thailand. So technically we could import the parts from Thailand, albeit we might have to pay a slightly higher fees, import duties and all those things, but it's technically possible, right? EcoSport is still running, and the Ford has promised that the facelift is going to be released in other markets too. So spares in India is not a problem, but it's definitely going to take longer than what it takes today. And even if something isn't available, we could get it imported from Thailand or any other country. So yeah, that's kind of good and bad news for existing owners, and most majorly Ford EcoSport sales in the used market are going to take a hit. I have already seen the prices of EcoSport come down by 1 lakh rupees for the top model, and this number is just going to increase in size as we go. That's it from our side for this edition of Tinox newsletter. Do subscribe to our channel and stay abreast with all the happenings in the auto industry and your ownership.